Hey there, it's Anthony with American Whiskey.
Hi, how you doing?
Don't most likely better than you are at this point. I don't know how else to respond, but
I hear that.
yeah. So again, I'm Anthony, and so here's what we're trying to figure out. You see different news networks out here right now that are just either A, they're like 7 days late on what's coming out, or two, it's just information that another news network will say was wrong. Like no one outside of where you guys are right now understands the truth. And when I was talking with Tracy yesterday, I just want to start from the beginning of where you guys are, where you were at the time, and just go through everything that you guys have been through.
Sure.
And if you want to introduce yourself, you can obviously do that. You can say your name. If you don't want to share your name, that's fine too.
Okay. My name's Dana. I'm a resident in Negley. I'm about just over 6 miles from the derailment. And when this all first started, we live on a state route, and
Okay.
the fire trucks were going past. You know, the first one, not even a thought.
And what time would that have been at?
I'm guessing it was shortly after 9.
Just trying to get
At night time.
Okay.
Yeah, the derailment was around 9 o'clock, if I remember correctly, on Friday, February 3rd. So the fire truck goes past. We didn't think much of it, but about 15 minutes later, another one flies past, and so it kind of sent alarm bells up at that time. We're thinking, ooh, this is getting bigger, I wonder what's going on. And every probably 10 minutes or so, there would be another one flying past. And of course, by this time, by the time the third one went past, we were very aware of what was, possibly going on, something big.
Right. Not sure exactly what, but something was, because you said you were like 6 miles out.
Yes.
I mean, you got to think, I don't know how your guys' town is, but here, I mean, I live across the street from the fire department. So, 6 miles out, that means they're calling for people in the surrounding areas, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right.
This, the fire departments from all over the place. I mean, this wasn't just East Palestine and a couple little,
right.
They came from everywhere in this corner. They came from miles and miles and miles away. From what I understand, there was over 70 departments that were involved in this.
Yeah, I heard it was, outside of Ohio. But so you're sitting there, you see all these emergency response cars driving by, and then kind of what happens next?
Got a text from a friend who got word about a derailment. He said it's in East Palestine. So I jumped on Facebook right away because, news travels fast on there, and went to one of the Facebook East Palestine, sites. And right away I found out that there was, in fact, a derailment. So, we kind of thought, oh my, that's horrible.
No
Hopefully everyone's okay. Yeah, no big deal. I
mean, at that time, when you hear of a derailment, I mean, there's over 1,000 a year. You're not thinking to yourself like, "Oh, I bet there's some toxic chemical on there," or let's freak out, So
right, like
at that
the one
point,
in
the
Michigan.
only thing that was going through your head was a trail went off the tracks. Nothing to worry about.
Yeah, just like Michigan just had a derailment.
Right,
it wasn't a big deal. Nothing leaked. So we kind of just thought it was something like that. But as the fire trucks and ambulances and stuff started going past, and they were continuing going past, we're starting to realize this is pretty big. So it was, like I said, after 9 o'clock when all this was going on. So, kind of went to bed without thinking too much more about it. And then Saturday, jump on Facebook to find out some more information. And Um, Still, there wasn't very much information. Just the train derailment, it was on fire, and that it was, pretty big, and that residents were being asked to leave if they could. I don't think at that time it was an evacuation order that was mandatory. It was just kind of, if you can leave and you're close, you should.
And at that time, though, you didn't really know why.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Or like how urgent it probably should have been.
Well, from my understanding, they didn't even know, the fire departments didn't even know that there were hazardous chemicals on this train.
Which is odd.
Right. You would think that
a log sheet of some
especially the fire department would know pretty much right away, but it took well over 24 hours, and I think it was more upwards to 2 days before.
Isn't that crazy?
That's insane.
I'm a CDL driver. I hauled dish. I was hauling dish soap one time. Got pulled over by a state trooper because I didn't have my seatbelt on, and he wanted to know it's so crazy how quick he knew what I had on board, if that makes sense. Because I had a log of what I had on there. So you would think carrying those kind of chemicals, you would know right now. The fire department would know right then and there what's on board. Okay, cool. Like, no big deal. But what was on there, they should have known.
I have 2 brothers and a son that have CDL license too. So I'm well aware of that.
So they know, like, what you have to log. I mean, if you get pulled over by DOT, they know what you have on there. Once you roll that window down, hand over your log, they know everything happening at that point. So, that train going through there with those kind of chemicals, to think, they have no clue what's going on for over 24 hours?
Yes.
I mean,
and these firefighters were, directly in.
And I'm not blaming the first responders, but it's where, like, why wouldn't you know? I mean, that is crazy.
It wasn't released to them. They should have known.
So
somebody should have told them so they knew how to, protect themselves and protect the community.
Okay, yeah, and so when you guys realize, like, all right, they said we should go. They don't tell you why. What is going through your guys' minds then, and do you leave?
Since we're farther out, we didn't put even much thought into it,
Right.
We didn't think about, the people that were very close and stuff. But my first thought is, I wouldn't leave, unless if I was, like, within a couple blocks of the derailment, just thinking that, it wasn't a big deal.
Right.
Or, just a regular fire that maybe was out of control and they were having a hard time, putting it down or whatever.
Right.
So without having that knowledge of all these chemicals there, I don't think anyone put much thought into it being, as dangerous as it was.
Right.
So we just went about our day on.
So I don't mean to interrupt you. I don't mean.
Sure.
So we're talking 24 hours later, right? So
the next day, Saturday, is where I am at, with us waking up thinking, nothing big,
Like, you're going about your day, going through town. Nothing's being said about some dangerous chemical.
Where we live, I don't go through East Palestine, on a daily basis or anything like that. We kind of go toward the other direction. So we weren't even in that general area. We actually went into East Liverpool that evening to go bowling. And all day long, I had a massive headache. Didn't even think, of course, that it had anything to do with that, because at the time we didn't even know that there was, these chemicals, these VOCs on there. So, we had a bowling party, and we had a friend that lives closer to that join us, and she was saying that it was smoky and stuff, and she has COPD. She really gets affected by the smoke.
Right.
So she was saying that it was bothering her and stuff. But still, at that point, we all did not know that it was as dangerous as it was.
Right.
Or even toxic. They didn't release that, I don't believe, even at that time. And if they did, it was kind of more hush hush.
Yeah, I mean, just if you go back and look at just the internet and Google it, you don't see anything. I mean, where the point where you're at right now, there was nothing even out there for citizens to be concerned.
Right.
Or, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. They really didn't tell us anything for a couple days. You know, all we knew was that there was a fire. They seemed to, I think, have it kind of under control, is what it felt like anyways, that, you know, it was a fire, and it kind of felt like it was over. And then Sunday, I honestly don't remember too much going on Sunday, except that, you know, people just talking about the derailment.
That would be the 5th, right? The 5th?
The 5th.
Okay.
Right. I should have reviewed some of my texts and stuff to kind of refresh my memory.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. I mean, you don't know what I'm going to ask. So, no, you're totally fine. So we're on the 5th. You still haven't heard anything, you know, major has happened.
Right. Didn't really hear about how dangerous it was getting or was until probably that Monday. I think that Monday is when I think I heard about an evacuation, and they were pressing people more so on that day. I think the days are kind of, they are bleeding into one another. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
It's been so stressful and stuff that it's hard to pinpoint exactly what day is what day at this, you know, at this point.
Right.
But the day that they were starting to realize that it was, so dangerous, pressurizing and stuff like that, or at least not that they realized, let's put it this way, when they finally told us what was going on, because I don't know how long they knew, you know, somebody knew more than what they were saying.
We're probably talking 2 to 4 days before you guys realized.
I would say definitely 3, but probably 4.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say that. But I would have to say that. I'm trying to think of what day.
I can only imagine how hard it is to actually try to pinpoint some of these, you know, times and stuff. So, you know, I don't expect you to know the exact times of things, because I know you guys are going through some crazy times right now. So
yeah, it's kind of crazy. I'm not sure if it's, you know, the chemicals in the air
but
or
it's
what.
Just crazy to me. And it's really hard for me to, you know, not say a whole lot on this side of things, but it's so hard for me to realize as an Ohioan that somebody in my state, I would say 2 to 4 days later, still doesn't realize, you know, nobody around you realizes, no one that's affected by this realizes how dangerous of a situation you guys are probably in. I mean, that's so hard to understand. Why would it take that long? You know? So, I mean, I don't expect you to know each time frame, but it was at least between 2 and 4 days, I would say.
Yeah. I know that it happened on Friday. We knew nothing Saturday, knew nothing Sunday, and Monday is when information started trickling, but even then, I don't recall how much we knew.
And what's crazy, Dana, is the fact that the people that lived in Ohio, like people like myself, we had no idea.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, how crazy is that?
Right. I talked to a couple people that when I mentioned about the derailment, they just kind of blew it off because, it wasn't anything at that time. It wasn't anything big.
Right.
And I think by the time I started telling people, I was starting to know that this was bigger than just a derailment.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was stressing to a couple of my friends saying, about this derailment, right? And they're like, yeah, okay, and I'm
No
like,
big deal.
oh, yeah, I'm like thinking you need to look into it a little bit more because it's kind of big. So, I'm kind of going through some of the texts that I sent my husband, hoping that it refreshes my memory on some of the days and stuff, but there's not very much there. But I'm trying to think of what day they actually had the burn, the controlled burn.
Controlled burn.
Controlled burn, yeah. Because was it on a Wednesday or something like that?
Yeah, we're sitting around that time where they came together and decided, like, let's burn this off on a controlled burn.
Right.
I think it was like, so that was on the 3rd that happened. I think that was like midweek that following week. So Tuesday, Wednesday, I think is when they started the controlled burn.
Right. So that's when they started threatening residents that they had to leave. Mm-hmm. There was no choice in the matter. If you don't leave, you might be arrested. And if you have children, there will be charges filed against you, for child endangerment. So,
did you have people tell you that? You guys that?
No. Okay. No, because we're far enough out that we didn't have to worry about being evacuated or anything like that.
I mean, 6 miles. We're not talking like a long, long way.
I mean
6 short miles.
Right. And our son lives just 3 miles away. He's down in Negley.
Okay.
But with the evacuation order and stuff like that, they were saying that it was a threat for shrapnel. They weren't saying they didn't seem like the chemicals, were anything. In my eyes, it didn't seem like they were as concerned about the chemicals as they were the shrapnel.
So they're worried about a little piece of metal flying through the air.
Yeah, they were worried with it being under pressure and all that stuff. If it blew, it was going to send shrapnel up to a mile away. They said anyone within a 1 mile radius of this has a huge chance of death. And anyone, I think it was up to 2 miles away, could have symptoms and respiratory issues and stuff like that from it.
Wow.
So they were saying that, but yet they're not reimbursing people for evacuating if you lived over a mile away.
Right. It doesn't matter. Like, you had to leave, right? 3 kids, 2 cats, doesn't matter.
Right.
They didn't even tell.
Yeah, they
miles away.
Yeah.
So where do you go? Like, because you're not. It sounded like you couldn't go to where, like, there's always a setup. Like, hey, leave here. You can go to the football stadium 3 miles away. It's like,
they had a evacuation center. I believe at one of the schools,
right,
which was like a mile and a half away from the derailment,
which was like nobody was allowed to take a pet in there or anything.
Yeah,
so
but, if there's threats of up to 2 miles away,
right?
Why would you make a evacuation center within that area?
Yeah,
right. Makes no sense to me.
I would think add a couple miles. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
Go 10 miles out of town. It's not that much farther, and it's a hell of a lot safer, I would think.
I would think so too. Especially how they were talking about this being like a bomb that would go off and be catastrophic,
So much for a slow burn.
Yeah. So, yeah, they planned, to do the controlled burn is what they called it,
Yeah.
by drilling a hole or something like that in it, and
Yeah, I think what they do is they dig trenches or ditches, I guess, and then they burn the chemicals that are coming through the ditches. Is how it's supposed to work.
That's not how it looked from here when
Right.
it went. You've seen the video of
Mushroom cloud.
Yeah, it didn't look like just a controlled burn.
And what's crazy, Dana, is we
yeah.
didn't even see that picture until over a week later.
That is crazy.
You know what I mean? It's like, that's a huge deal. Like that whole entire explosion, because that wasn't planned. I wouldn't think that was. They were supposed to burn these chemicals off, not blow them up. You know what I mean?
They said it went as it was supposed to, like they had planned. So there's been no release saying that there was anything different than, it didn't turn out differently than what they were expecting, which blows my mind because it was huge.
You made people leave right on this. I mean, literally they were going around telling, when we talked to Tracy, they had state troopers go to their house and say,
in the middle of the
night and say, you have to leave. If this was planned, why wouldn't you tell me the day before at a convenient time?
Right.
That makes no sense.
It makes a lot more sense to evacuate and force evacuation if you're going to,
explode
before and not at the last minute. Things just don't add up in my eyes. Things just don't add up. So, like I said, I'm 6 miles. I live on top of a hill. And I had my son come up here because, like I said, he lives in Negley. He was closer, and I was concerned, even being 3 miles away, that if this goes wrong or even if it didn't go wrong, just the chemicals at the time that we knew. Now, I don't understand why the EPA had to release the additional chemicals instead of Norfolk.
Right.
You would think that Norfolk would have released those chemicals, released the list of the chemicals way before, they did. It makes no sense.
Right.
So I had him come up because I was concerned of the fumes, and all that, because
of course
Negley sits lower than East Palestine. It sits down in a valley, and these, I think it was the vinyl chloride was supposed to be pretty heavy, so it would sink. And I'm thinking it's going to come right down over the hill, right into Negley. So I told him to come up here at least bare minimum during the controlled burn. And he did. He went home that evening, but before he left, or after the burn, now they were delayed for I think a couple hours maybe from the time that they were supposed to. It might have been an hour and a half. It was anyways. It didn't happen at the time they said it was going to happen. But he looked off our back porch, and a huge black plume of smoke. It was big and it was dark, and I don't think I was expecting that.
Right.
And it was heading. Yeah, it was heading toward Chippewa,
mm-hmm.
PA. It was I guess you could say, a blessing for us that it wasn't coming in our direction, but,
not a blessing for the ones over there.
Yeah, which, is horrible. And I'm happy it didn't come this way, but I don't think that really matters, because I think that everyone in this area has been been poisoned with this. I've had raw sinuses, a very bad raw sore throat. My glands and my throat are swelling up. My right lung has been really irritated. I had active TB when I was 19 years old, and it left some scarring in my right lung. So whenever I get around like scented candles or this room sprays or cigarette smoke or anything like that, my lung starts hurting. I mean, I know when I'm around those chemicals, even stuff that doesn't really have much of a smell, if I'm in an area with it, I can feel it. And my lung has been bothering me a lot. So I know that there's something in the air.
Right.
You know, you can't convince me otherwise. There's definitely something there. And my husband's been having some symptoms too, not as severe as mine, but he's been having some problems. And my son's having problems. I mean, like I said, he's down in Negley. Negley was so affected by this, and it seems like they are not getting any help whatsoever. They started to bring in some water to share last night. This is the first time. Now, people that aren't from here have no idea, but Negley has some, creek that runs through it, and it comes directly from East Palestine. So all that contamination that hit the creek is coming right through Negley. Negley is a big area, but the town of Negley is really small. And they're all well water there, and their wells are very shallow there. Some of them are like only 20 feet deep,
right.
And they're level with the creek. So the contamination for that area, I think that they're going to feel it really quickly. And I'm trying to bring some awareness for them to get some of the help that they need, because we don't have a mayor. We don't have anything like that. We're just a small, a little small
town. So there's been nothing, out there for like a number for you guys to call, or,
The only number that we have is the same number that everyone else has for the well testing. And they're not even prioritizing us. They're testing everyone in East Palestine first before, even testing ours, even though we're all well water, at shallow wells at that.
So, you're just like, are they telling you guys that it's safe?
They're not telling us anything.
Okay.
We're like a second thought to them. We are not being even recognized as part of this.
Gotcha.
And
when you think about it, if you watch the news, you only know the name of East Palestine just as of recent. You don't realize that a community right next door is, having these issues too. So it's that's very interesting.
Darlington, PA, they're the ones that kind of got that plume. They're being affected. The areas around are definitely being affected. Negley is greatly affected because of the water coming directly from East Palestine and how low it sits. Like I said, the vapors from this were heavier than air, and plus there was a system in that held everything down, which I don't understand why they would do this controlled burn when this system was moving in to hold everything down. If you look at like the different radar maps and stuff like that, you could see that it was all held down low.
Right.
And then when the controlled burn happened, it all sank down to Negley, because it was kind of like the lowest part in the area. And no one's been to Negley to check on anyone there, Right. It's like, it's all about East Palestine. And and my heart bleeds for East Palestine because, there's a lot of people being displaced by this,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not, saying that East Palestine doesn't deserve everything that they're getting, but I don't want places like Darlington, Unity, and Negley to be ignored either.
Yeah,
They need
I don't think anybody in their right mind that's listening to this podcast would think that. I mean, it's obvious East Palestine is or Palestine, I guess, is affected greatly, but you guys are just right next door. It's not like you're 50 miles away. You're at the end of the county line there. It's 6 miles. It's not that far.
Yeah. Well, parts of Negley is actually closer than some of East Palestine.
Right. I mean, are you guys as a community? I know you say you don't have a mayor, but do you have like a council or anybody that's trying to tell you like, go get a home, filter system or something,
No, we have township trustees, and I called up 2 of them today. We have 3 of them, and they have not reached out at all to anyone. They're having a meeting, just a regular scheduled meeting Monday, and so I'll attend that in hopes that something more will come out of it.
You gotta have your voice heard.
Yeah, but no, unfortunately, I don't know if they even realize the magnitude of this, to tell you the truth.
Right.
I mean, which surprises me in a way, because anyone who lives in this area should know how huge this is and how devastating it is. And
right.
it's going to affect people. It's going to affect people for a long time here, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things, Dana, where it could be 20, 30 years down the road, but it's the fact that this is being ignored. Later on, if somebody were to come, like there's a cancer cluster, they're not going to say, oh, it's probably the train that derailed, because that's what, they don't want you to think that,
I went down to the creek yesterday to see this, rainbow water that I seen online
I saw one of the, I think it was Ohio senator went down there, J.D. Vance.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I tested the water myself. It was really dreary out yesterday. So, the sun wasn't shining to light it up or anything like that, but definitely you could see, the rainbow there. I wanted to go down today. I'll probably go down tomorrow and get a better video.
Are you talking about in your town, or you travel? Okay.
No,
I don't know if you were
traveling
to East Palestine or if it was local.
No, the local, like I said, all the water from East Palestine goes right through Negley into Beaver Creek and down to the Ohio River.
Yeah.
So, we are very close to the Ohio River. And this is a place that people go kayaking, in Beaver Creek in the summertime. You take your dogs to, throw frisbee with in the water and stuff like that. I didn't see one living thing in the water yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, there's been reports of fish, snakes, frogs.
Everything is dead.
Yeah.
Everything in the water is dead. And I'm hoping that...
And to think that you guys are 6 miles out, I think J.D. Vance went to East Palestine or Palestine. How far is this going to where these... Because you're not seeing this on national television.
Right.
You're not realizing that there's animals in the rivers that are dying. I mean, all of them. It sounds like, you have, it's not like you go down the river and just see a few fish. You're seeing thousands of different, like, I heard snakes, frogs, bass.
Yeah.
I mean, just all kinds of
It's all
fish.
dead. It's all dead. And I don't know how far down the creek it goes, but where I went was about 2.5 miles, close to 3 miles away from East Palestine.
Wow. And I mean, I'm sure that's got to be heartbreaking to see something like that. I mean, it's, I'm an avid fisherman. I see a dead fish here and there, but I couldn't imagine going down to my creek to go fishing and just see thousands of fish floating. I can't imagine that. It's heartbreaking.
I didn't even see that because I don't know who it was, but someone was there to clean up all the dead fish.
Right. I heard the railroad system hired contractors to go down with nets and try to clean it out.
Yeah, because I didn't see tons of dead fish or anything. But I didn't see anything alive either,
Right.
And this was right outside, city limits, right outside the zip code. I don't know where, the city ends, and it was within East Palestine, or really close to East Palestine.
Right.
But the creek runs right through Negley, and it goes through a state park, not far from here. The creek for us is just maybe a half a mile, if that, from our house. So it runs all through this area, and it runs through Beaver Creek State Park. I'd like to go down there and see what I see down there, see if it made it. I'm sure it did, but I'm wondering if the chemical rainbow is down in that part of the water.
And I'd be interested too, because this is the time of year for, fishermen I mean, you eat fish all through the year that you catch, but right now is like the freshest time to catch fish and eat them. So I'm curious, over there, are they warning people? If you're catching fish out of there, are they saying don't keep and eat, or is everything safe?
Heard anything. I have not heard anything. I follow the Beaver Creek State Park Facebook page. I have not seen them address it at all. Not saying that they haven't, but I have not seen them address this,
right,
toxic spill at all. I know it had to have reached to a certain level in that area. Well, because, West Virginia, Wheeling and farther down is reporting, that the chemicals are making it that far down. So I'm sure it went through Beaver Creek. What did it do to it? I don't know, but I can tell you one thing: I won't be kayaking in that water this year, and I don't know when we'll ever be able to return to our life before this happened, because this was prime place to go fishing, to go kayaking, to hike,
spend time with your family. It's
and mushroom hunt, all that, and it's all. I feel like it's all gone now. It's
right.
It's destroyed. They came through and destroyed not just East Palestine, not just that town, but this whole area. This whole area is just. I feel hopeless. I feel powerless. I feel like we're doomed. I just don't see how it can get better. I just don't see how it's going to get better, especially since it just doesn't seem like they want to do anything about it. They just want to say everything's fine.
I mean, on the outside looking in, that seems like to be the most difficult thing for us to process, is the fact that it doesn't seem like we're talking like almost 2 weeks after the fact, and we're just now trying to figure things out. So I completely understand. It's hard to, from being on the outside looking in, it's hard to feel what you're feeling, but we're understanding. You know what I mean? It's why has it taken this long for this to come out? And that's what's crazy. It feels like we're days behind. After talking to Tracy last night and talking to you today, it's like we're days behind.
I mean,
You know what I mean?
yeah. I think that the only reason why you're as far as you are and knowing what you do was because that reporter was arrested.
Yeah, I know.
I think that if he didn't get arrested, I think that we would barely be on the map.
Yeah. That's how, truthfully, that's how it started. It had nothing to do with the derailment. It had something to do with a national correspondent being arrested.
Yep. That's the only reason I believe that we got on the map when we did.
Yep. I couldn't argue that. I mean, it's definitely what I saw first. And that's heartbreaking. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you look at the spill in New Jersey, which I believe was like a seventh of what vinyl chloride that spilled here, a seventh. And what precautions, what they did there versus what they are doing here, it blows my mind. Right. Because what they did there is just tenfold, 100-fold more than what they're doing here. And we had so much more, not only just vinyl chloride, but all these other, chemicals that they don't even know how it interacts with one another,
right. They don't understand at all.
Yeah. And yet they're trying to tell us that everything's safe,
right.
They're replacing all of the equipment at all of the fire departments that had to respond that night that, I don't know how, if they're doing like all 70 departments, I can't imagine them doing that. So I don't know what all that they're doing. From my understanding, it definitely was East Palestine and our fire department. Our fire department is.
I'm actually talking to one of the firefighters from those surrounding areas. So that'll be interesting to hear, what they have to say about that.
I'm terrified for their health.
Yeah,
absolutely. With them not even knowing what chemicals were on this train, which blows my mind. How much exposure did they get and how sick are they going to be? Are they going to be like the first responders in New York City?
Yeah. It's hard to tell. I mean, it's scary. It's definitely a thought that crosses your mind because they're there on the front lines for how many days?
Right. Right. So I don't know how they are reimbursing each fire department. I don't know if it's all of them that showed up or what, but Negley's just a little volunteer fire department,
Right.
We don't, I hope that, I don't know. I hope that all the fire departments that were involved, get everything that they need that they sacrificed for, this fire and this spill. And I pray that all the firemen, I hope that they all are okay after this, but I don't think that they will be.
Well, Dana, what I can say is our community here in Springfield, Ohio, we're praying for you guys. We're praying for East Palestine. We're praying for the towns surrounding you guys. And we just hope that you guys get answers soon. I don't want to take up much more of your time tonight, but I appreciate you coming on tonight. I appreciate you sharing your story. Our prayers are out to you guys. We're going to be bringing a truckload of water out that way. So we really are thinking about you guys.
Well, I really appreciate that. I ask that any of your listeners that can help Negley as well, think about the little side towns. Like I said, I talked to someone in East Palestine today that's involved with the way station and was talking to her about my concerns about Negley not getting anything. And she said that for the time being, just as the time that we spoke, that she was sending water down to Negley because they had a bunch of water being delivered. But there's a few things that your listeners might be able to help with. that I really hope comes this way is some air purifiers and some water filters, because we can't just run from our homes. A lot of people are like, just
Right.
pack up and leave. You know, we have jobs, we have animals,
Right.
we have houses. You know, I
This
put
is your
25
home.
years.
This isn't something that you can just get up, pack away, and go. I mean, it's not a vacation. This is your home. You
We
can't
put
pack it all up.
25 years into building up this homestead. I planted fruit trees, organic garden. Right. We have chickens, you know, and stuff.
Well, Dana,
so
what I'm going to do is reach out tonight to our listeners. I'll do something following this that's doing an outcry for some air purifiers, you know, and more for you guys. But we will be coming there. We'll be delivering what our listeners are willing to send out to support you guys. Okay.
I thank you guys
absolutely,
so much.
Absolutely.
And everyone who has reached out. The country is very, very warm and giving. I could say that more than our government.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's the people. It's the people. But I wanna tell you that you're more than welcome to call me back, contact me, and if I have more to share, I'd be more than happy to share.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll be talking outside of this. So we will. I think Monday we're trying to schedule a trip to come up there. So I'll get a hold of you and try to get some of these supplies out to you guys. But Dana, I appreciate you coming on tonight and being willing to just sit down, because like I put on Facebook earlier, this isn't just a disaster. It's emotionally hard for you guys to talk about. So I appreciate it.
It's been very stressful for sure.
Absolutely. So we will get a hold of you again. I appreciate you coming on. Anybody listening tonight, just reach out and let's do what we can do for East Palestine and the surrounding areas. So Dana, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.